Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the program today, we're going to talk about a portion of the university system that most people in the state are not aware of. The Desert Research Institute operates both in Reno and Las Vegas and around the world, from Africa all the way to Antarctica and up at Lake Tahoe. On the program today, the president of DRI, Dr. Stephen Wells, and Dr. Jim Thomas. While on the Power Pundit panel today, Anjeanette, Damon, Larry Matheis, and Mike Alonso. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Here at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we focus on attracting high-tech companies to Northern Nevada. One vital amenity provided to companies at TRI is a connection to a complete digital fiber network. This gives the ability of unlimited bandwidth and voice services to every business. And what's charged for the installation of this valuable asset? Nothing. Zero. Nada. And that's a pretty good deal. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
When making your decision as where to play golf, consider the resort at Red Hawk. You know you have made the right choice the moment you arrive. The friendly staff welcomes you to our award-winning pro shop. You know you've made the right decision on the first tee. The Lakes course is in the best condition in years. You know you've made the right choice after you've played 18 holes. The resort at Red Hawk, the right choice.
Nevada Newsmakers is sponsored in part by the Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seemed to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? They do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
One of the finest parts of the university system is the Desert Research Institute, and we have the president of that here and also one of the doctors from DRI. We welcome Dr. Stephen Wells, who's president, and Jim Thomas, who's executive director of the Center for Watersheds and Environmental Sustainability.
I won't go on my water thing, even though I just got you water, and you are a hydrologist. But actually, I was down at the legislature this year and was watching the discussions on the cave, and you received $14 million from the state legislature. Explain that project, because even sitting in the room, I still don't understand it.
Well, this is a fantastic opportunity to bring innovative technology to the state. And that technology is essentially a combination of high-powered computing and visualization, or you can think of it as virtual reality. And the goal is to take any type of model of any environmental or any business-related activity and make that three-dimensional that can be shown on a screen, on multiple screens, and the centerpiece of the cave building that the state was so generous and supportive of will be a six-sided total immersion virtual reality center where you walk into the model and you're surrounded entirely by that model that you've developed.
Okay, so let me put this into language that a Star Trek fan can understand. So essentially, you would create, like, for example, you could create this studio inside of that room.
Correct.
And not just the four walls, but the floor and ceiling as well.
Correct. And you can walk through that model. There are only 3 of them in the United States right now that are the 6-sided caves. There are several caves, single panels or multiple panels, but only 3 6-sided caves: Iowa, Illinois, and at Duke University. This will be the 4th dedicated towards the environment.
What's the purpose? I mean, I think of Total Recall and taking a vacation. So.
Well, there may be some administrators in my institute that like to do that on occasion, but I think for us, what we want to do is to be able to see things 3-dimensionally, because you have a much better insight if you can get into that model. So you could take, let's say, a thunderstorm, and you can color code the different temperatures of the air mass. You can put in the vectors of wind flow, and then you start looking, you go, oh, there's something I didn't see. You can do this for a hurricane. And, for example, people looking at the hurricane saw a cold spot on one side of the hurricane that they had never seen, because as they modeled that in 3-dimensionally, and you walk around the hurricane, you go, oh, I can see that, and I didn't see that before. Or in the business world, which has great applications, John Deere uses it in Iowa. They'll actually walk through their combines to look for inefficiencies of flow through grain through the combine and redesign the combine to make it far more efficient. So we're looking not only to do research for our institution and advance 3-dimensional models, but also to bring in business interest into the state.
Well, and that was going to be my next question: is there a financial payoff for DRI and for the state from doing this? I mean, are companies going to actively come here and seek this out and pay you big bucks to use it?
Well, I'm hoping that people will come here and be attracted to use this, because they do that in those other states. And so in addition to having it available to our scientists, we're going to promote business use for people here. And even the casinos could use it. You could do a layout of your casino and then move that around and see how the operations function. So even local businesses, but biomedical firms could use this. You could do 3-dimensional expression of genomics, gene structure. You can do biomedical research. You could walk through a human heart that you've collected data on. Anything you can collect data and model, you can see 3-dimensionally.
Is there a tech transfer here as well? What you're learning in this environment, can you then get out to business for them to make money from, or is it more them coming to you to learn more?
Well, I think it's a two-way street on that. And for us, also, it helps policymakers and managers. You can take, for example, Lake Tahoe, which we'll hear about later, and you can do that 3-dimensionally, and you can walk through that model. So you could say, if we control the input from these runoff areas and these sewer drains, how does that impact the clarity? Run the model and go, well, here we see this kind of improvement, or we're going to have to change that to reach this threshold. So you have real live variables that you can alter and see what that model looks like.
When is this going to be finished?
Well, we actually are installing the 4-sided cave as we speak in the institution. We will start the building sometime next year, and hopefully it'll be done towards the end of 2007, beginning of 2008, and that 6-sided cave will be the centerpiece.
Okay, first of all, can I come visit?
Sure, we'd love that.
Second of all, what is it? Is it a projection system?
It will be essentially a 10-foot by 10-foot lab that's surrounded by very sophisticated projectors and large computing power behind that will run those models projected onto the wall of the 6-sided cave.
Amazing stuff. We're going to come back, and then we're going to get Jim into this discussion talking about Lake Tahoe. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this. Fascinating.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
Since its creation more than a decade ago, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has focused on 3 goals: preserving water quality, improving water conservation in Southern Nevada, and meeting the community's current and future water needs. Through thoughtful planning, responsible management, and collaboration, it's succeeding. As we move into the 21st century, the Authority continues to embrace sustainable water development and efficient water use. That's our promise to Nevada.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community. But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
If it's fun, it's here at the Peppermill, the $100,000 video-themed slot celebration, with more winners each week, 100 random winners every Monday and Wednesday, and more cash prizes, $6,000 random drawings every Friday, plus chances to win up to $1,000 in free slot play on Mr. Money's Challenge. You'll have more fun with the Peppermill's video-themed slot celebration, now worth over $100,000.
The slots that rock are at the Peppermill. Where are you winning?
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And we're exploring issues dealt with by the Desert Research Institute. You know, I've always had the trouble of, I wanted to say dessert instead of desert. I swear
That's
I've
the Friday show that you do,
yeah,
the
really.
restaurant stuff.
But this is a remarkable institution that's both in northern Nevada and southern Nevada and all around the world. We're here with Dr. Stephen Wells, who's president of DRI, and Dr. Jim Thomas, executive director of the Center for Watersheds and Environmental Sustainability. Let's talk about Lake Tahoe. Now, by the time this show airs, there will have been a summit, the annual summit at Lake Tahoe. I presume Senator Reed's going to be there, Senator Ensign, Dianne Feinstein. What are you hoping to get out of this conference this year, beyond just money?
Just to give you a history, Sam, the summit started, as you probably remember, with President Clinton coming here in 1997. There's been an annual summit every year, and this year will be hosted by Feinstein. Last year it was Senator Ensign, the year before that Senator Reed. It gives us a real opportunity to bring the scientists together with the land managers and the politicians, so that everybody can see how the science fits into the land management decisions. We need to make it understandable, so they need to make decisions of what works in the basin and what does not work. Then we can provide that information as scientists to the land managers, to the politicians.
Okay, Lake Tahoe, for folks in southern Nevada who have never been up to the north, you got to come up.
I feel sorry for you.
You got to come see one of the most beautiful places on earth at Lake Tahoe. Clarity is always the issue. Things appear to have been improving over the last year, but then we had this massive sewer dump. Has that caused problems there as far as the clarity?
The sewer dump will cause a short-term problem. It will be a little blip that we may or may not see in our long-term record. As you probably know or maybe not know, since 1968, we as scientists have been monitoring the clarity of Lake Tahoe, and we take an average reading of that clarity. And in that time period, it's declined about a foot a year. And that we're still on that gentle decline, or fairly rapid decline, I should say. And if it goes back, if you read Mark Twain's Roughing It, you'll see he even described even more, it was even clearer further back in the 1800s. So there's a lot of effort being put into restoring Lake Tahoe. And so there's state, there's federal, there's local entities that are going to put approximately $1 billion into restoring the lake and reverse that decline in clarity, because it's been called a national treasure, of course, by Senator Reed and others, and Bill Clinton when he was here, and you.
Exactly.
Forget those guys. I got the show.
Well, years ago, in my life at Fish and Wildlife, one of the biggest concerns we all had, it seemed, was the actual air pollution from the traffic, the cars in the Bay Area coming over and really being the cause of the quality. And unless you put a big fan on, on the summit at Sierra and push it away, I mean, what are some of the issues that are impacting the water quality? Is air quality actually part of the water quality?
Yeah, actually, the watershed, we bring in air quality, we bring in water quality, we bring in the biology folks. All these people interact. That's the important thing at Tahoe. It's a real collaborative effort. A good example you brought was air quality. Our researchers, in collaboration with UC Davis and with the California Air Resources Board, did a study, because they used to point over the hill at the Bay Area. All the air deposition coming into the lake is from out of the basin. Well, guess what? Greater than 90% of that is from inside the basin.
Interesting.
So the good news there is that's something we can control.
Right.
We're just not out of control. People in the basin can make decisions on traffic or whatever. We're looking now at the actual sources within the basin. That's part of our current ongoing research in the Lake Tahoe Basin.
And that's good, because before it seemed like there was no way to control some of those elements. And now through the research you guys are doing, Tahoe Research Group at Davis, and now there's also the whole new center being built at Sierra Nevada College, and you're involved with that, correct?
Yes, we're involved in that. before the show's there, there'll be a big ceremony up there that'll include UC Davis, Sierra Nevada College. DRI will be part of that complex up there, as will UNR. And so we'll all be involved in that. And there's also, along with that, there'll be a signing of a Tahoe Science Consortium. We've formally met. We have MOUs, so we work together as scientists.
MOUs?
Memorandum of Understanding.
Okay.
That's that federal terminology.
Federal terminology.
If I don't get it, they don't get it.
Very good.
Memorandum of Understanding, an agreement.
But this new agreement will also include the land managers in the basin and those like Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, TARPA, as we know them, that have to make decisions in the basin, so that we'll be actively interacting with them as we develop the science. They can adapt their management. That's a term you hear, a buzzword, adaptive management. We'll be adapting their management based on what the scientists find out is going on in the basin, as far as fine sediment and nutrients are the main cause of the decline in clarity.
I wanted to expand this a little bit because, and I'd like you to come back again and talk more, but there's a project you're working on in China, because you guys work all over the world, and this is a radar system where you found unbelievable amounts of things underground. Would you just briefly explain that?
Well, actually, the radar system was used by someone else to find the buried, you're talking about the terracotta soldiers.
Yeah, there's like 7,000 terracotta warriors, horses, and chariots.
Right, and what's happened is they've uncovered 1,000 of those 7,000, and those 1,000 soldiers that are a national treasure now for the country of China are deteriorating once they've been exposed to the atmosphere. And so our atmospheric scientists, in collaboration with the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Hong Kong Polytech, and the museum, are trying to understand sources of pollution that create the deterioration of those remarkable features that were built during Emperor Qin's burial rites and ceremonial activity there. It is truly, I've had the opportunity to be there. Actually, the place stood right where President Clinton stood when he was in there to see these things, and they are phenomenal. They're not molded. They're all designed individually separate, so every person's facial expression, body shape is different.
Now, and you work all over the world. I know in the past you've been working in Egypt with air pollution. You worked in Mexico City.
Correct.
And down in Antarctica.
Right.
So it's just a phenomenal resource, and it's just something I personally, as a Nevadan, am very proud of DRI. I
well,
just
thank
think
you very
guys
much.
do a wonderful job, and we welcome you back on the program anytime.
We look forward to that.
Okay, thanks very much for being here. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Here at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we focus on attracting high-tech companies to northern Nevada. One vital amenity provided to companies at TRI is a connection to a complete digital fiber network. This gives the ability of unlimited bandwidth and voice services to every business. And what's charged for the installation of this valuable asset? Nothing. Zero. Nada. And that's a pretty good deal. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
When making your decision as where to play golf, consider the resort at Red Hawk. You know you have made the right choice the moment you arrive. The friendly staff welcomes you to our award-winning pro shop. You know you've made the right decision on the first tee. The Lakes course is in the best condition in years. You know you've made the right choice after you've played 18 holes. The resort at Red Hawk, the right choice.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
Oh, you bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they've saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And a great Power Pundit panel as always. Mike Alonso is with us with Jones Vargas, Anjeanette Damon, who's a reporter for the Reno Gazette-Journal, specializing in politics, and Larry Matheis, Executive Director of the Nevada State Medical Association, also specializing in politics. All right, let's start out with you, Mike. A couple of major announcements yesterday in the gaming industry. Let's start with the one that came out of Las Vegas first. Harrah's, having just gone through this giant merger, now has picked up the Imperial Palace, which is located between the Flamingo and the original Harrah's property. What do you make of this?
Well, I think from Harrah's standpoint, it gives them another opportunity on the Strip to do a large-scale property like the Wynn or Caesar's Palace across the street. You know, $20 million an acre is what that thing comes out to be, but I think everybody's got confidence that the market's going to continue to be strong in Las Vegas, and it gives Harrah's an opportunity to compete with MGM Mirage in Las Vegas.
You didn't think they were big enough before to compete?
Well, they're the largest gaming company, but they're not as big on the Strip, obviously, and I think that's where part of their focus is. I mean, they've got the Horseshoe Gaming brand that they need to do something with in Las Vegas, or they want to do something with, and now having, you know, Caesars and all those other properties, their branding, I think it's going to allow them to kind of pick and choose what they want to do and what project they want to do, but they need to build something really big, I think, in their standpoint on the Strip.
You know, Larry, you know, back in the day, Howard Hughes was buying up properties like crazy across the state, and the governor, I believe it was Governor Laxalt.
He was crazy in buying properties.
Yeah, true. And Governor Laxalt at one point called him and said, enough is enough. Are we ever going to see that again?
I don't know, but maybe if Governor Laxalt calls them, then maybe they'll think enough is enough. No, location, and you've got consolidation going on. We have a market that seems insatiable, and as long as those factors are there, and as long as the capital is available, I think we're going to see further growth. It's tremendous, it's exciting, and 20 or 30 years from now, we'll look back on it as maybe the most exciting period to be involved in the most exciting state in the country.
You know, it's interesting, Anjeanette, there are major projects going on in northern Nevada as well. The Cabela's going out in Verdi, the giant water park that's being built, going to be built on the location of the Reno Hilton. And then yesterday, Stations Casino announces that it's increasing their purchase of land, a shopping center to the south of Reno, by more than 50%, now from 50 acres up to 83 acres. What do you make of that?
It'll be interesting to see Station's entrance into the northern Nevada market. I think it's a good place, I think, for the retail and the gaming to have kind of a little hub down south too, to draw the people, keep the people, the retail, the shoppers in northern Nevada rather than going over the hill.
And it will change the politics of the area.
Dramatically.
But nobody knows how. But it will change it.
And you know, that's really been the story that hasn't been covered yet. I mean, you have major locals players in northern Nevada already, the Atlantis, the Peppermill, and now you're going to put in a monster that's not only going to operate to the south of town, but has purchased a second parcel at that location as well, but also one that's right next to it, the Atlantis and the Peppermill. Mike, you got any thoughts on that?
Well, I think if you look at what Stations has been putting out in their news releases and the type of company that they are, the demographics in Reno fit exactly what they do and what they do very well. And I think they've also, you know, I mean, Atlantis is a public company, a very well-run company. If you look at their numbers, I don't know how many quarters they've had now consecutive of record earnings, and I think
it's in the hundreds now.
Yeah, I think the Station people are smart, and they looked at those numbers, and they see something in Reno that maybe other people don't see, but certainly the Peppermill and the Atlantis have seen, and some of the other neighborhood properties. But I think Station's plan here, and when they come to Reno, nothing's been built here in 10 years, and the amount of money that they're going to spend is not just for locals. I think it's going to be another attraction or two attractions, whatever the number ends up being, that will bring people over the hill and help all of Reno, I think.
It'll be interesting, though. I mean, Reno has had a little taste of the neighborhood gaming dispute, but nothing to match what's been going on in Clark County. So as Stations does move in and seeing where they're going to start targeting as they grow and expand in northern Nevada, it'll be interesting to see if that neighborhood gaming debate expands in our area as well.
And it certainly has made for some interesting times in the state legislature when they've addressed that issue. And I suspect if you have it more geographically dispersed as an issue, that makes more further complications, like dealing with eminent domain.
Indeed. Let's change the subject to a national issue, but I was just kind of curious to get your take on this, Larry. This whole Vioxx decision that came down last week, hundreds of millions of dollars in fines. They apparently, Merck has put away $750 million to settle lawsuits connected with Vioxx, but this was not a good sign for them.
No, it certainly wasn't, and it's also not a good sign for the problems that Vioxx was created to deal with. I mean, with an aging population, one of the side effects is you have things like chronic arthritis now as one of the new huge chronic diseases to be dealt with. And the pain that's associated with that was what Vioxx was aimed at reducing. Now, to find out, it was always known there were going to be side effects, and one of those side effects was that a certain percentage of people would become more susceptible to heart disease, and a certain number would die. With any product like that, when you put it on the market, you're creating a cost benefit, you're creating a risk situation. How do you communicate that risk? The problem with dealing with bad outcomes in the courts is it can drive the market to close up on this. People who are having pain are going to need to have that pain dealt with. How do you explain the risk associated with dealing with that pain, and how do you make an informed choice as to whether or not you want that? This only starts us on a path of discussion that's going to be very important, but it could actually probably drive a couple of pharmaceutical companies into financial distress.
Do you think, Mike, at some point that the federal government is going to have to find a way to indemnify the pharmaceutical companies? And I need a fairly brief answer from you. Once the drug's been passed by the FDA, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's a political issue probably more than a scientific issue.
They had to do that with vaccines a few years ago in order to make sure that childhood vaccines were still available. They had to put some extra protections on those companies because there is the risk that one in every so many there will be a bad outcome.
And that's where we've got to leave it. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers. A lot more on that subject coming up.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
South Reno's hotspot for food, fun, and friends is the Tamarack Junction. Play over 480 of the hottest slots and video poker games. Enjoy hot times and sizzling food specials at Sully's Sports Bar, Grill, and Nightclub. Watch your favorite game on one of our jumbo high-definition plasma TVs. Enjoy great food 24 hours a day in the Dining Car Restaurant. Or sample the best hot and cold sandwiches in the Whistle Stop Deli. The Tamarack Junction is your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway. Yeah.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community. But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
Don't forget you can watch Nevada Newsmakers online now at nevadanewsmakers.com. Coming up tomorrow, Ransom Webster of the Nevada Policy Research Institute. Be a great show. Join us then.